What's up, Falcon fans? On today's episode, we're going to take a closer look at my 7th round Atlanta Falcons NFL Mock Draft 2.0 edition. If you guys like this type of content, hit that like button. If you guys hate this type of content, hit that dislike button. It will hurt your boy's feelings, well, maybe just a little bit. But if you want to do a huge favor for your boy by hitting that subscribe button, it will help out the empire grow. So on that note, let's just continue with the video with round number 1. With the 8th overall pick in the 2024 NFL Mock Draft, the Atlanta Falcons will select Jared Verse, defensive end out of FSU. It's pretty obvious that the Atlanta Falcons need a true number 1 pass rusher for this Atlanta Falcons roster because the only guy we have is Grady Jarrett, who led this team in sacks in 2022. Now, back in 2023, it was Bud Dupree and Calais Campbell who led the team in sacks with 6.5. But since they're not here on the roster now, and plus, let's not forget that Grady Jarrett is coming back from a torn ACL last season where he only got to play in 8 games. So obviously, it's going to take for him to get back into his monstrous form. So that's why you go get a pass rusher in the first round to recuperate your losses. That being said, I like that Verse can play in a 3-4 or a 4-3 defensive scheme. So that's fantastic because the Atlanta Falcons do play in a 3-4, and he does play defensive end when he was with the Florida State Seminoles. But what really makes me very interested in his game tape against, the Cardinals of Florida, Pitt, Wake, Duke, Clemson, and even Boston College is where you can clearly see the evidence of his skill trees, like when he uses his first step when the ball is snapped, where he gets an early on edge against his opponents, where now they have to readjust what they got to do instead of dictating where they want Verse to go. Instead, he's making them where he wants them to go. So it's pretty kind of psychological type of situation. I love it. His hand placement is something to behold, where he can easily deflect the opponent's arms in a one-on-one battle, where instead of getting tongue-tied or tangled, he can easily break loose to get that freed wide open space towards the quarterback or the running back or whoever he's trying to pursue. Excellent job. His pursuit and motor are definitely the key of his success, no question about it. And he's not just a pure pass rusher, but he's also a great run stuffer as well. So that's a huge bonus to have multiple threats. So my only 2 biggest concerns is pretty much his age is 23. I know that's not really that old, but in NFL years, that's pretty old. Even though I don't think that's a problem, but some people will. And then of course, the other situation is open field situations, especially when a quarterback scrambles or if a wide receiver or tight end or running back does some type of slant routes, something in the middle or cross routes where he might have to adjust to pursue, and it might take him a little more time to get there. But either ways, I think he'll be a valuable first pick with the Atlanta Falcons with the 8th overall. So now let's talk about round number 2. With the 43 pick in the 2024 NFL Mock Draft, the Atlanta Falcons will select Tyler Nubin, strong safety out of Minnesota. Before you guys start getting out your pitchforks and sharpening and try to call me out for not knowing the hell what I'm talking about, hear me out for a quick second, okay? Apparently, this is going to be the weaker draft class when it comes to free safeties and strong safeties position. So why not and go get the best strong safety you can get early on in the round? Because we all know a lot of Falcon fans were complaining last year of how Richie Grant was playing, regardless if it was his fault or the scheme-wise fault or some of his companionship didn't help him out. And yes, I know that we drafted DeMarco Hellams to be the backup, but even still, you still want to have elite players at all skill positions, right? So we got that taken care of. So now, because this draft class is so heavily deep in cornerback positions, you can easily snag one in the later rounds, and they could be our day 1 starters opposite AJ Terrell. So that being said, let's talk about his strengths. He definitely has one of the best ball hawking set skills, and it shows with his 13 total interceptions for the Gophers. He's really great in reading zone coverage routes. He's also very instinctive when it comes to man-to-man. I think he does a really good job in not getting separated too often, and he's a very strong tackler. And the good thing is, because he's 6'2", weighs 210 pounds, and he could tackle your ass down to the ground with ferocity and making sure he does not get a lot of missed tackles. Now, obviously, the NFL is trying to change all that when it comes to tackling, in those hard tackle hits, so that might deflect a little bit, but I still think he has a very strong, powerful mindset for a strong safety, and you really need that in the backfield, especially when all these running backs and quarterbacks are so mobile. So you need a guy who's a thumper and spreads fear in the backfield. So I love that comparison. And one reason why I really like this pick so early on for us, because he get to learn and get tutelage and help from Jesse Bates himself. So that's absolutely a massive bonus plus in my opinion. So now let's talk about his weakness. So obviously there are two major concerns I have with him when I'm watching his film. First of all, sometimes I've noticed when he's using his feet, he has some really bad footing, and that leads to bad angles when you're trying to cover some of these wide receivers or tight ends, and that's when he usually gets beat when he's trying to recuperate or recover his motion. Now, number two is his speed. He doesn't have a lot of explosive or closing speed when he's trying to range on a single target, and that really does hurt him down the line, especially in man-to-man coverage, I've kind of noticed. But besides that, those are all teachable type of situations. So I don't think it will really linger with him when he goes to the NFL. So now let's talk about round number 3. With the 74th overall pick in the 2024 NFL mock draft, the Atlanta Falcons will select Max Milton, cornerback out of Rutgers. This pick is so important because we do not know what the Atlanta Falcons organization is going to do with AJ Terrell, if we're going to extend him a long-term deal, short-term deal, franchise tag, or let him walk in free agency market. And of course we have D. Alford, and then of course we got two brand new corners in Hamilton and King, and then of course we have Mike Hughes on the track, and then Clark Phillip III that we drafted last year. So obviously the only long-term is Clark, so we need a long-term investment in the cornerback position, and that's where Milton comes in with his 6-foot frame, where he's absolutely physical and aggressive against his wide receiver opponents, especially in the NFC South, where we got to go against, Mike Evans, Adam Thielen, and then Chris Olave, 2 times a year. These are critical moments, especially in the zone coverage, where he's absolutely shows his display of excellent awareness, his capability of looking at the quarterbacks of downside. He's good in the run game as well, because you need that, durable corner to be excellent in the passing game and excellent in the run game as well, and stopping them. And then, of course, his dynamic making down the field plays. I like his hips movement, where he goes down sideline to sideline with the wide receivers, where he doesn't get lost too often. And, of course, his press off the cover and his hand-to-hand fighting is absolutely tier 1. Now, the only downside I can see in his game is sometimes he's a little bit over aggressive, and it kind of hurts you in the long run, especially with the penalties. A perfect comparison would be Robert Alford back in 2013 when we drafted him out of Southern Louisiana, where Alford did a great job in man-to-man coverage a lot of times, but then sometimes he got flagged because he was too aggressive, and it really hurt him when he was like Mr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde situation. And also Milton has another problem in tackling sometimes, where he's been inconsistent in, doing the proper form to get the opponent down correctly, and sometimes he just missed the tackles completely, or sometimes, the opponent just shimmy shift a little bit and he just, has that quick hesitation, or he goes for the tackle too quickly and doesn't hesitate enough. But, here and there, hopefully he can learn from his mistakes when he gets to the NFL. So now let's talk about still round number 3. With the 79th overall pick in the 2024 NFL mock draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Jonah Elliss, edge rusher out of Utah. This is a really good depth piece and maybe potentially a starter for us, because he could play in a 4-3 or a 3-4 defensive scheme, because Utah like to throw him around, even though he is labeled a defensive end, but he played a lot of linebacking roles as well. So he's very versatile in that aspect, because then he can learn from Harrison, Grady, then of course Williams that we just got, and then of course Carter and Epicady, because they're both outside linebackers. So he's very versatile in that aspect, and that's a great key factor already. I like his motor. Is it elite? No, but it's solid, and he gets the job done with some of his pass rushing moves already. He established, because last season he had a breakout year where he got 12 sacks, unlike the previous 2 years where he had less than under 3. But you know what? He's keep growing, and he's 21 years old, and that means you got youth on the track. So it usually means that he's fresh, ready. You know, his body hasn't been worn tear during his, college careers. So he's just getting started, and that's a good plus as well. And also what I really like about his game is he has a nice quick first step that sets him up with precision of taking down his opponents, and he did that against the Burns and Oregon State, where he was so destructive they had to change their game plan because he was making tackles, he was getting sacks, he was getting pressures, he was just getting all types of situations where they had to change their own game plan, and that's what you're looking for in a pass rusher. My only biggest concern from him is that sometimes when he's trying to bull rush, he gets absolutely just get cut off, and he just cannot find a way to get outside or dip inside to try to get after the quarterback, because he needs to work on his strength. But if he can do that, he will definitely be dangerous for us. So now let's talk about round number 4. With the 109th overall pick in the 2024 NFL mock draft, the Atlanta Falcons will select Javon Baker, wide receiver out of UCF. I know that the Atlanta Falcons just re-signed Kadero Hodge for a 1-year contract, and now Drake London's contract is going to come up a couple of years from now. Then, of course, we got Ray McLeod, who is going to be signing with us for a 2-year contract deal, but he's going to be our special teams ace type of situation. Now, Darnell Mooney, we know a 3-year contract, and I did a whole video on him about what we can expect from him, and I think he's going to be our starting slot guy for me personally. So that means Rondell Moore. He's going to be our 3rd or 4th depth piece, so he's going to be in a rotation. Not going to be really used a lot, but I think he's a 1-year contract at will, or whatever he was with the Cardinals at the time. So this is a guy that has a 6-foot frame, where he's going to give us 4 years of eligibility of him playing with the Atlanta Falcons if everything falls in line. What I really like about him, and what really shows on tape, his big play ability when it comes to his quickness getting out of the press against these corner packages, his alpha dominance at the wide receiver position. He used his insane body control to do athletic acrobatics catches on the outside or inside is phenomenal. His hand strength is impeccable when he just gets the ball out of the air when they're like weak or strong when the quarterback throws it. His big play ability, his ball vision is incredible. His yak yards after the catch, his durability of 50-50 catchable balls is impressive. His quickness when he gets the cuts in, or when he outplays the corner and just pure speed, his vertical jumps, his toughness, the way he just grabbed the ball is just something, oh my God, everything you want in a wide receiver, he has the full package. Now, the only problem I've noticed, and I've been hearing and seeing and reading a bunch of articles about, is that there is a scare that he has a limited amount of route tree reps or understanding, mostly because he plays a lot in the slot and the go route position when he was in college. So obviously, people are going to be a little nervous. Is he more just a possession wide receiver? Can he do it all? And I think he can. It's just he's going to be a little bit project, but when he finally gets that in, he's going to be a monster. So this is a definitely pickup for the Atlanta Falcons. So now let's talk about the 5th round. With the 143th overall pick in the 2024 NFL mock draft, the Atlanta Falcons will select Bo Limmer, center out of Arkansas. I will always leave one center in one of these mock drafts because what Alex Mack has done to me personally. Since we got him back in 2016 through 2020, he absolutely changed this running game that I'd never thought about, where he got Pro Bowls, where he made, Freeman and Coleman and whoever else on the backfield, stronger, helping protect Matt Ryan for not getting pressure so many years previously before that. So for me personally, I didn't think a center was a big deal until Alex Mack came on board. And so we need to draft a starter center for us. Now we have Drew Dolman. Now he was drafted back in 2021. But think about this. He's the only center we have on the roster now. So what happens if he gets banged up? Because he's been banged up a couple times already. So that means if he goes down, who's next man up mentality? That's why you get Limmer on the track, because he's very balanced. He has a nice, strong, sturdy grip where he can just absolutely just push his opponents away. He doesn't really get beat a lot. Not I've seen of when it comes to watching some of his film tapes in Arkansas. He's very adjustable. He moves with ease, calm like the sea itself. I'm pretty sure he does a really great job in the run scheme. Now, I think he does more of the zone type of coverage. I gotta dissect that a little bit more better. But when it comes to pass blocking, he's not bad either. He doesn't get tripped up a lot, and so that's what I think is really amazing about. But he's also versatile, because remember, he used to play guard for them a year ago until he got promoted into the center position. So that means versatility is king, you know. So that's why I think this is an excellent pick for us, and he's one of the best center. So getting him in the 5th round is an absolutely steal in my book. So now let's talk about round number 6. With the 187th overall pick in the 2024 NFL mock draft, the Atlanta Falcons will select Logan Lee, defensive tackle out of Iowa. This is a no-brainer pick because we don't have a long-term defensive tackle already. We have David Odomata, who's 31 years old. He signed a 3-year contract with us, so he has 2 more years left. And of course, Eddie Goldman, the nose tackle. By the way, I don't trust his ass because he's been playing with our emotions twice already. And also, there was another guy that the Atlanta Falcons snagged out of Iowa back in 2005 in the 2nd round. I'll give you a couple seconds to you guys to remember who that was. Okay, you guys don't know who that is? It's Jonathan Babineau, aka the USS Babineau, who, you know, the Atlanta Falcons have through 2005 through 2016, where he just was a beast for us. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, he retired and he had a nice 12-year career with the Atlanta Falcons. And that's the same thing that Logan Lee can do. Now, think about this. He is 6'5", my boys. This man is no joke. He is a gorilla killer, weighs 291 pounds of pure muscle mass. He's the definition of a tackling machine. On solos or assists, he gets after the quarterback with a lot of pressures, with a lot of hurries. Now, he's been consistently getting 3 sacks per season in the past 3 seasons. So that tells you his motor is constantly running, even if he gets it or he doesn't. He attempts, and that's what you really like in a guy, where he doesn't give up. Even though he might lose the battle, he's not going to lose the war. And that's what I like about this guy. So now let's talk about the other 6th round contestant. With the 197th overall pick in the 2024 NFL mock draft, the Atlanta Falcons will select Daijun Edwards, running back out of Georgia. Since CP got signed by the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 2-year contract, that leaves only 2 of our running backs that we know is going to have long-term deals and is going to be on the field on multiple over 60% of snap count. And that is Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. So that leaves the 3 running backs a little bit of a mystery in Robert Burns, and then Carlos Washington Jr., and then Avery Williams, where Williams is coming back from an ACL tear. So obviously those guys are questionable, but this is why you get Edwards in the 6th round, because he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear. He is a senior, so you know that means he's very patient when it comes to getting his playing time situated. Now, he wasn't really used a lot in 2020 through 2021 with the Bulldogs. But in 2022 through 2023, he absolutely got the rock and used whatever method he could use to be on the field by getting over a 5.5 average of the rushing yards stats. He's actually a pretty decent wide receiver as well. He almost got over 200 receiving yards and under 20 receptions, so that's pretty good. He's a little bolder, you know. He's very elusive. He can definitely get through the cracks, but I still think what he's really gonna do is just gonna thump you, and I like that. I like those Steven Jackson's down the hill thumpers types of running back mentalities that you just don't see often anymore. And there's a huge plus: if he does get tackled, he's gonna drag you down, and that's something that I think a lot of Georgia Bulldogs fans will contest to. That's why they really like rooting for this guy. If you guys lasted this long to the very end of the video, thank you so much for taking your own personal time and day to watch these Falcon content videos. Here's one on the screen if you guys are interested in. So what do Falcons do? Rise up. Until the next episode, show love and peace to the world, and peace.